Alright, what's up, guys? So, this is just a guy just gonna wing this video. I'm in my backyard, still have pajamas on. Full disclaimer, I bought this pistol with my own money. We're talking about the P-10, and so I'm not sponsored, I'm not affiliated with anybody. This is just a guy who carries this gun, shot this gun, trained with it, and what his opinions and observations are. Also, bear in mind, this is a sample of one. What I see with this gun may not be what you see with your gun. You know, just because manufacturing abilities and whatnot, everything's going to turn out the same, right? You know, QC problems, every company has it. So moving on, today is August 11th. I went ahead and picked up this gun on May 8th, 2017. So it's been about 3 months. In that 3-month period, I fired 4,962 rounds. Right off the bat, 100 of those rounds are the federal HST, 124 grain standard pressure. Fed this just fine. I don't think there's any problems with this. I usually shoot more than 100 rounds. I will soon. But no feeding issues whatsoever, just what I would expect from a modern pistol. And the rest of it, 4,862 of them, were this. This is just your 124 grain ball, that NATO spec plus P stuff that Winchester makes. It's really cheap, it's really affordable. It's about 20 cents a round. So moving forward, just an overview on the gun. I don't want to make this a super long video. I'm not nothing fancy. I like his videos, but not everybody has time to watch 40 minutes, right? This is CZ's second striker-fired gun. Brief synopsis: their first one sucked. They came out with a second one. This is a compact, fully ambidextrous Glock-style takedown. A lot of heritage from different guns. Ambidextrous magazine release, slide stop, same deal. Like I said, Glock-style takedown. Sight hardware is pretty different. You got your P-07, P-09 style front sight, and you got your Shadow 2 rear. As far as aftermarket sights, you got CZ Custom that makes a set, and then you got Dawson Precision. Right now you can see that the sights are aluminum. They're starting to get some finish wear on the top, but I went ahead and took a marker, blacked out the rear, had the front only just because I hate having 3 dots. Moving forward, the trigger is pretty nice. Gonna make sure the gun's empty here, just so I don't send a round somewhere I don't want to. I have a cheapo, junky Lyman gauge. And pretty much since the first day I got it on May 8th, has always said 4.5 pounds. So we'll test it again here. Alright, just over 4.5 pounds. It's usually 4.5 pounds. You don't really need to test it more than that. The trigger itself has this really smooth take up. You end up hitting this wall, it creeps back, and it rolls some, and it breaks. And then it resets. So right out of the box, I would say this is better than a Glock trigger. It's not too light either. I think it's a really great trigger right out of the box. It's phenomenal. So far, I've noticed the gun's very accurate. It's very flat shooting. It's very smooth. You know, I'm able to shoot this plus P with a lot of ease, and I'm not getting brass to the face. You know, occasionally, I'm not saying it happens a lot, but occasionally with a Glock, I get some brass to the face, and more so with the plus P than the non-plus P. Talking to just holsters. Very briefly, I've only got 2 holsters. This is also, like I said, sample of one. So this is Boydman Shenanigans. He's got the Gotham holster. Shout out to Logan Foster. He told me about this one. Great holster. Got the RCS claw. It's an appendix carry holster and allows you to just pretty much carry with a light. And it's a really small package overall. Just goes right in, clips right on. For the guys who run Glock, this is actually a Glock holster. CZ slides right in, slides right out. Perfect. Retention's on the light. For the guys who run Glocks, this will allow you to run a Glock 34 or run a Glock 17 or 19 with a comp. You know, depending on how big the comp is. Now I've got an RCS Phantom with a light. This is for a Glock 34. If I don't put any tension on the slide, it's a very tough fit. And it'll take the gun out of battery usually. Ever so slightly, you can see that it's out of battery. It's a very tight fit, so technically, like, it fits, but I wouldn't use this holster. It's kind of one of those things where it fits, but it doesn't, right? As far as the back strap and the size of the gun, it's a compact size gun, but the grip comes down a little longer. I like that. It makes it more comparable to a full-size frame, almost, without having that extra hanging off the bottom. The back strap and the front strap are quite aggressive. Now, a lot of guys were debating shaving this. A lot of guys have. I was debating it too, but I went ahead and not did that. I went ahead and avoided that, just because once you remove the material, it's gone forever, right? And I decided not to do that. Reason why I did that is because my philosophy was, okay, just like pretty much any other stipple job out there, your dead skin gets in there and it makes it softer, right? Sure enough, 5,000 rounds later-ish, I don't really feel this front strap and back strap killing me. Of course, that could be my hands. I've climbed a lot of trees. My hands are like leather. You know, I've got old Asian farmer hands. RTF2, same deal. Over time, it kind of wore down. Let's see here. I'm just kind of looking at notes to see, keep myself on track. See if you got some time. So moving on, you know, the part that I think matters the most is just how the gun does long-term longevity. And I would say I've been impressed for the most part. You know, there are some caveats, there's some downsides. For the most part, I've been really impressed. Now the magazine release already, as most people have noted, is kind of stiff. You know, you take a magazine, 15 rounds, people say, man, it's hard to depress the magazine. Absolutely, I would agree with that. It wears in over time. There are some mods that you can do to make it easier, but comparatively to a Glock magazines just come right out of the gun, right? Like William Petty said, I went to a class of his in early July. Like I said, I took the Pat Mac class right after the weekend of May 8th. Petty was like, hey, you better drink your milk, boy. You better drink your milk just before you drop your mags, because you actually do need to put more strength on dropping that magazine. And part of it's because there's a lot of rust. I get a lot of rust on this pistol, a lot of rust in between the magazine release and the frame. Some of it's not visible now because I just cleaned it off recently, but this roll pin here is rusting. These two are also rusting, and this one down here is gonna take down the gun. Ironically, the slide's not rusting at all, you know, but these small parts are rusting. The slide stop had a little bit of rust. You can't see it now because there's carbon all over it, and I went ahead and just shot it and didn't clean it off. Trigger bar had some rust on it. So the small parts are rusting, and with this being a gun that has so many roll pins, I didn't want to take it apart too often, just because I'm not really familiar with how this gun fully strips. Speaking, while we've got the gun apart now, let's talk about the actual parts. So you've got all these small parts that are rusting. After roughly 5,000 rounds, I would say the rails look pretty good. You know, the rails are definitely smoothed out. I'm not seeing anything of concern to me. You know, the rails have just kind of gotten shiny. If you take a look, shine back there and shine up front. Ejector has some wear on it. The rails on this side. The locking block is what actually has the rails, so if you needed to replace the rails for whatever reason, beefy locking block comes out. Rear rails as well, they're in pretty good shape. I will know that the ejector, if we can get this to focus, is a little beat up. You see that little nick right there? Ejector is kind of getting a little beat up. Right after the 3,000 round point is when ejection started to become a little more erratic. Ejection prior to 3,000 rounds was always up and far away. Now it's starting to become a little more erratic. And this kind of brings me to my next part later about stoppages. But moving on to the slide finish is holding up really well. I carry this gun, I go and train, I'm doing lots of dry reps. So, you know, the holster wear is taking place. You know, I've got some scuffs and scratches, but the finish is holding up well. I'm pretty pleased with the finish. I haven't had any rust whatsoever on the slide. Taking the recoil spring out of the pistol, getting to the actual barrel. You've got some wear here. You've got wear underneath the barrel. Wear over the top. You got some wear on the hood here. Everything's in pretty good shape. I'm pretty impressed. Wear down here as well, but nothing is worrisome to me. And just to give you guys an idea, and this isn't comparing apples to apples, more like apples to oranges. Here's a Glock 17 that's had 12,000 rounds through it. So, slide rails, everything looks good. They weren't nitrided or anything like that. There was silver to begin with, but they're smooth. No damage to the ejector, no deformation like there is on the CZ, something to note. However, this gun sometimes does send brass to my face. Moving on to the slide. The slide finish on the Glock is pretty good, but I'm getting a lot of rust on it. You know, it's not as impressive. It's actually funny. To be fair, this is 12,000 rounds later, though. I've had this gun for a while. I got it right after the first run. In fact, my mom bought this for me. I was 20 years old at the time, and I asked my mom, hey, you know, wouldn't it be awesome if you bought me that gun? And she said no. And then I said, well, that sucks. And then, for whatever reason, she had a change of heart and went ahead and bought me this gun. Been carrying it for a long time. Great mom. Love her. Asian ladies are awesome. So moving on to the barrel, you're getting the same kind of wear here. Like I said, it's not apples to apples, but you get that wear there, you're getting the wear here on the barrel. Same deal. You're getting wear on the hood. They're wearing nicely together. The slide inside has a bit of wear. I would say the slide finish on the CZ is better. Something to note. Getting back to the CZ though, let's talk stoppages. In 5,000 rounds, I've had 3 stoppages, and I've taken note of this. Originally, I kind of attributed it to poorly seated bullets. You know, Winchester white box is not exactly the highest quality of ammunition. However, all 3 stoppages happened underneath the exact same conditions. Basically, 3 different locations, 3 different times, and the conditions were pretty much this: that in order to get the stoppage, I had to fire at least 300 rounds in that session, at that range trip. The gun would get hot, and then the ejection of the pistol would start to become a little more sluggish. It would get hot. I'm thinking maybe the parts are getting hot and tolerances are stacking. I'm not sure. I'm not an engineer. I'm not someone who does this for a living. But the gun was not cycling as it should. And to replicate what the stoppage was, let me put this back together. Get an empty magazine. So spent casing would be in the chamber. And to show you guys an idea, this is the round that I pulled out the last time it happened. It's damaged on both sides. So when I pull the trigger, it would end up feeling like it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of felt like there was something wrong, catastrophic, like maybe overloaded quite a bit. It would start the cycle, it would stop abruptly and go back into battery. It would send the empty casing back into the chamber, and this round would come out of the magazine some, but get shoved back down into the magazine vertically, like so. And it would get caught in between the breech and the feed ramp. And this isn't remedied by a tap rack bang. A tap rack bang ends up just sending the round up here and getting snagged in between the breech and the barrel. So I've only had this happen 3 times in 5,000 rounds. So that's a mean rounds between stoppage of like 1,700-ish. It's still concerning though. But here's the thing, is that it happens under the circumstance that you fired at least 300 rounds, at least in my observation. That I fired 300 rounds, the gun's getting kind of hot, things start to become a little sluggish, and then you get a stoppage. So some guys would say, well, you know, you carry it, you're not going to fire 300 rounds in a self-defense scenario. I completely agree, but still a stoppage of that kind of nature is kind of concerning. I don't really know what to think of it. I might decide that I'm going to carry something else. I might decide I'm going to carry this still. Something to think about, something to be wary of. Like I said, before people start saying that I'm saying that CZ sucks, this is a sample of one. This is my personal gun. It's the only CZ P-10 I have. If anybody else can shed light on that, go ahead and give that a try. Go out to the range, fire quite a bit of rounds, just do a bunch of drills. You know, just keep on shooting, see what you guys are experiencing. Another theory I have is that maybe the gun wasn't designed to handle a steady diet of roughly 5,000 rounds plus of SP. So that's just my opinion, that's my observation, my theory. Everything I'm saying is fairly objective. Take it as you will, take it with a grain of salt. This is just one guy, like I said, a little bit of just going around in circles. But alright, I appreciate you guys, and just want to put this information out there for you guys, and I'll keep on shooting this, and feel free to ask me any questions. I'm always looking to help guys find answers for stuff. Obviously, some guys shoot more than I do, some guys shoot less than I do, but it's always nice to get information from the source firsthand and not participate in a lot of just internet theory and circulation and circle jerking. Y'all have a great day.